All right, welcome back to Guitar Wishes and your Guitar Wish of the day. This is Lee coming to you once again from the beautiful Guitar Wishes facility here. That's right, in beautiful downtown Lincolnton, North Carolina. Today, we are honored to have in-house with us Mr. Larry Chaney. That's right, one of the most innovative guitar players I've ever heard and a true guitar legend around the country and the world. Larry, thanks so much for joining us, man.
You bet, man.
Thank you very, very much. And right now, he's the touring guitar player and band member with EDWIN McCAIN. And we'll get to Edwin in a little bit, but let's start before then.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a session musician for quite a while, and inside that Nashville machine, playing around. And tell me about your memories of those days.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you know, I was straight out of, first opportunity that came along to leave Wichita, Kansas. I took it, not knowing what to expect and not having any resources at all, you know. It was probably 1975, something like that. Right. Nashville was so small, and there just wasn't enough work. I could have waited 10 years, is what I tell people. But it was a cool time to be there. Right. Because you could. Well, a lot of people were still around that are now just considered legends. Sure. And I got to meet some of those people and even work with a few, but there wasn't a lot of money, so it was like, boy, you're just struggling for a good 8-10 years before something started to happen. Right. And everyone else from that time, I know I mentioned Kenny Greenberg when we were talking earlier. Right. He was one of those early guys, and now he's a really established producer, brilliant guitar player. But he had to play in as many bands as he could, and that's what we were doing at the time. Just play in as many bands as we could, just to kind of pay the bills. And an occasional recording session would come along, and after a while, it's what I like to used to tell people. New guys who came into town, and they would just tell them, like, just get in line. Yeah. It's the best thing you can do, and try not to get out of line, because then you're going to the back of the line.
Yeah, you don't want to burn any bridges.
Yeah, and well, there's a lot of aspects to that, as we all know, because you can't be a jerk and expect to get called back again.
Of course.
So it is, most of it is that, and you got to be able to play. Sure. And really, at the time, that's what led to this and that, and and then a lot of people know your name.
Yeah, and speaking of being able to play, do you remember your first guitar?
Yep.
What was it?
I remember vividly. You might have one here. Silvertone, Dano style Silvertone. Masonite guitar. Sure. The black Sparkle 1 pickup. Okay. Not the red Sparkle 2 pickup model. With the amp in the case, and I'd go to, in junior high, go to school and say, my amp is this tall, because you stand that case on its end, and open. Of course, the amp is actually this. Right. But it actually was a great rig, and easy to play, short scale, and which is, for a 12-year-old, it was like, okay, it keeps you going. Yeah, well, at 12-year-old, what turns you on to guitar at that point? Were you from a musical family? I grew up in a musical family. My mom played gospel piano in church. My dad was a minister. Yeah. In my teen years, I was the choir director. So, So, it was that kind of thing. You grew up with the sound of that piano in the house all the time. So, and start there. Right. Not sure I liked it that much. But then you go back to it later after you've been playing guitar a couple of years, and you go, the theory is all laid out there a lot better than it is on guitar. And the guitar, it's all hidden. Yeah.
And going to find it. And so you go to Nashville, and you're known as a great innovator, looking at not being happy with current things, so you just decided to make your own. And in 90, we talked earlier about 97. There's one of the 30 most innovative guitars.
What that issue actually says. So it's the 30th anniversary issue of Guitar Player magazine, and I was just lucky to get in there. Man, it's like those guys. I'm sandwiched between Neil Young. I was just lucky to get in there, but it was the name of that lead article was the Dirty 30.
Dirty 30.
Some people are, and you think about Neil Young, well, it's pretty meat and potatoes in a way, but it's, you think of sparking the grunge era in a way, even though he'd been around for 30 years before that, And so I don't know how innovative some of the players were. They put this article together, and I was honored to be in there with people of that stature. Believe me, So
So what sparked that in you? Were you just hearing things in your head that you wanted to replicate, and nothing out there was doing it, so you just decided to do it yourself?
It's probably several things, and all along I've been a tinkerer with guitars and with somewhat with amps. But amps are dangerous, There's just enough current there to knock you across the room. If you just get poking around the back of it and you don't know what you're doing. And really, I didn't know what I was doing except knowing how to solder and follow a schematic. So I could rewire a guitar. And typically, now I rewire every guitar I get. But rewiring pedals, I started doing that. Going there, hey, there's a trim pot on that circuit board. What if I mounted that to the, put it in a different box, mount that pot to an actual pot.
Sure.
And say, and
a lot of things start out with what if. What if I did this?
Because I knew that wasn't dangerous. It's plus minus 15 volts or something like that, or 9 volts or 18 volts. So you're not going to hurt yourself. Hurt myself all the time with the soldering.
Well, so you're in Nashville and you're playing. What's your weapon of choice at that point?
I want to say a Super Reverb Blackface, but maybe not. But it was definitely a 61 Stratocaster.
61 Strat,
which I still have.
You still have it,
and I bought it in '71 for. I put an ad in the newspaper.
Right.
Those weren't things like
what is
Craigslist.
That?
Yeah. Put an ad in the newspaper with a phone number. That I was wanting to sell my. I think it was a '61 SG Junior. So one dog-eared, P90 in the bridge, and wish I still had that. Too.
Oh yeah.
But. And some guy calls up and says, well, would you take something in trade, And I said, well, I'd think about it. And he said, well, I have a Stratocaster. It's about 10 years old.
Wow.
It was 71.
Yeah, so. 71.
So,
wow.
And he wanted $160 on top of that. I only paid $90 for the SG.
Wow. Can you imagine?
No, it's great.
And so you've pretty much been a Strat guy ever since. I mean,
more or less.
You have other guitars.
For probably a good 15 years before I bought a second guitar. And I didn't even own an acoustic guitar. After a while, when you start doing more session work, can you play acoustic? It's like, okay, I'm going to buy something.
Good, yeah.
But no, and then I just thought, well, I just need to buy something with a humbucker in it.
Sure.
Even though I'd already taken the original pickups out of the Strat and don't have those anymore.
Right.
And the really only thing that's left that's 1961 is the wood.
Right.
I do have some of the hardware from it, but everything was started being modified right off the bat.
Sure.
I just started playing with it.
Right.
3 pickups. Hey, you can get more combinations than just 3.
Yeah.
Because that was the three position switch, right? So there was a lot of that kind of tinkering.
Right.
And
well, you know,
but I tended to use that guitar and try to make it do as many different things as I could, since it was the only one I had.
Sure.
And
Sure.
and at the time in Nashville, I was the only guy playing a Strat.
Really?
Virtually the only guy playing a Strat. And then the Dire Straits record came out.
Ooh.
And everybody ran out and bought a Stratocaster, because that sound works in country music.
Mm-hmm.
But it really wasn't my sound.
Right. Well, you know, and then you played session after session. I know you recorded with Twyla Paris, Johnny Van Zant.
Oh yeah, definitely Johnny. Johnny and Donnie. It was a writing thing with a guy named Robert White Johnson, who was a great singer, a great songwriter, and he knew those guys, and he was one of those loyal songwriters who would call me, you know, and so I wound up working. Those guys were great. They were friendly and laid back, and you know, and I didn't know it was going to wind up on a Johnny record, but it's just because, you know, Robert knew how to make really good demos.
Sure.
It was like, once you get demos to a certain point, well, that sounds like a record now. So, you know, and sometimes it is the record.
Right. And so, and we'll move on to the Edwin days, and they start in the mid '90s, isn't it? 95?
More or less. You know, I think for me, it's more like late '96, because they'd already started on the second Atlantic Records release.
Misguided Roses.
With Kenny Greenberg, who I talked about earlier, who was co-producing with Matt Rawlings, great keyboard player, played with Lyle Lovett. And anyway, they were making, I mean, I heard some of the stuff they did, that, they're making like a singer-songwriter record.
Right.
You know, they heard him in a very specific way. I think it was an accurate way. Edwin's like a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
The record company needed to hear it bigger in
Right.
order to have a hit, you know. Right. So
yeah, he had some moderate, pretty big success. Solitude on the first album. With Darius. Darius was on that. But with Misguided, I'll never forget the first time I heard it. I thought, wow, this is so much bigger. Some of the electric guitars in there.
And that's mostly Kenny. Yeah. I'm on a couple of tracks on that record, but like I said, they'd already been working. They were half done at least when I got involved, because the guys needed to find somebody, because they were just a four-piece before.
And then it blows up with I'll Be.
Well, you know, this is like as I was telling you earlier, it's like I was turning down every touring gig, you know, just in order to stay in town and do sessions. Yeah. You know, and you know, and I turned down some big gigs because I knew once you get out of doing sessions, it's hard to get back in line again.
Sure.
And so I was going to say no. I'd already made up my mind. Then my second wife, mother of my son, she said, "You might want to do this one." Yeah. And it's sort of like,
just blows sky high with that.
Her intuition was good about that, I think, because it was, as it turns out, the .com bubble hit a few years, 3 years later. Yeah. Yeah. The bottom fell out of the music business in Nashville. Everybody I was working with, all my associates, musicians, they took touring gigs. Yeah. It was rough. Yeah. The studios started closing their doors, and it's come back, but not in the same way. Right. And it's a whole new group, and I don't know any of those people.
Right. But you've been with Edwin now for 25 years?
It's about 22, 23. I'm quite done the math. I just gauged it by my son's age, who's 21. And so, it's the longest job I've ever had.
But, a great job. And some of the I want to talk about your style for a second, because some of the most melodic solos I've ever heard in some of these songs. And I was talking to some of the guys earlier about, in my opinion, one of the greatest solos ever played. You play on a song called Sign on the Door. And every time I see you guys live, the solo in Sign on the Door is always the highlight for me. You know, your style, I've always thought, you don't overplay. You play what's right for the song. And it's so much, you balance tastefulness and fretboard skill so well.
I appreciate all that, man. That's really well said. I mean, that's what I try to do anyway. Mm-hmm. That's a great song, man. It's like it as simple as it is, and it's got that gospel soul thing, right. And boy, it's like that's just that always resonates with me. And there are a handful of his other tunes,
sure,
do that thing too, and I'm always pushing that direction. Right. I'm always like, okay, no, there's more we could do that way, but it's sort of like, he's got lots of different influences that I don't have.
Sure.
He's 15 years younger.
Yeah.
So it's a different thing, and it's an ain't broke, don't fix it.
Sure.
Situation.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, maybe shouldn't listen to me very much.
You're still having great shows, going out and playing a lot of people. On the strength of some great songs that have come out. Of course, I'll be Could Not Ask for More. So, some of the big singles. Walk With You was that?
Yeah, it actually that's turned into a bigger song. It didn't have the big record machine mechanism behind it, but it's over time. It's just kind of come around, and it really is kind of the third wedding song.
Yeah, they really.
You're still my baby daughter, and now I've gained a son. I'll take this slow, sweet walk with you. You letting go.
Well, I can't thank you enough.
You bet, man.
Thank you so very much for coming out. If you want to know more about Larry, where he's playing, again, he's touring with Edwin. You can go to edwin.com for those things. And you can also just Google Larry. And you got your own. How can people check you out on social media?
It's just on Facebook. And I'm easy to find. So that's probably the easiest thing. I don't do social media that much.
Right.
But, so that's just do that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, Larry Chaney, and I can't thank you enough, man. And again, check out edwin.com to see where Ed's going to play, and you can check out his stuff on YouTube as well. There's a ton of great solos from his on YouTube.
Oh, there's some quirky stuff. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing, but you know.
Oh, it's good stuff.
It goes way back.
But thank you so much. And I want to tell everybody out there, if you want to see anything else, if you want to know anything else about any guitars you've seen here or anything else at all, let us know here at GuitarWishes.com. Check out our Facebook site. And, of course, smash that notification bell to where you're informed of new content uploaded daily. For everybody here, I'm Lee. We're out.
Cruising for a bruising.